friends, it looks like we're on this nonsense again. And by nonsense, I mean we're about to react to something that just popped up on my feed a little while ago. Something that I'm very curious about. Now, it says that some talks that these guys are having includes City of Madison, City of Venice, and the village of Brooklyn. So we're going to see if these things actually have any real tangible effects, any actual benefit to anyone, or if it's just nonsense. Let's see.
To another episode of MLV Speaks, where we bring you all things MLV. We bring you business owners, events, people who uplift our communities, and politicians. I'm your host,
Okay.
Terrell Wright of Metroplex Mobile Studio, and I'm excited to bring you inspiring information. Give me your undivided attention for the next 30 minutes as I talk to our guest for the day.
You
Our
got
guest
it.
for today is an attorney, born in Highland, Illinois, with a BS in finance from Illinois State University, a JD from St. Louis University School of Law. He's married, has 2 children, and he also serves as the assistant majority leader in the state of Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome State Representative Jay Hoffman to our show. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Well, thanks for having me, Terrell. I really appreciate it.
Well, I know you're a busy guy,
That didn't answer
so
the
we won't
question,
take
but okay.
a lot of your time, but thank you for being a guest on our show. You continue, let's talk about your leadership role real quickly. You continue serving as the assistant majority leader in the 104th Illinois General Assembly. How does this leadership position shape your agenda and influence collaboration with the legislature across the legislature? Excuse me.
Well, that's okay.
We are watching Illinois politics because I'm an Illinoisan, and we're gonna see if this actually does anything.
I'm lucky enough to be an assistant majority leader, and what that means is I'm part of the leadership team of the speaker, and I've been in that position, I guess, for nearly a decade now. And in that position, you're able to help set the agenda for the legislative process, making sure that the agenda is such that it helps people, helps working families, helps people who need it most, provides for educational opportunities for all, and makes sure that we, in the Metro East, have a voice in Springfield.
You can make sure of that. But are you? That's the question.
Many times you
should be
think
asking.
that
can
the state
make
is
sure
run
that.
only by the city of Chicago, but that's not true. We have a large voice in the Illinois General Assembly, as well as the House and the Senate.
So let's talk about that legislative longevity you have.
Right. Let's say, but actually,
Over your time serving, how has your perspective evolved, and how do you leverage institutional memory to benefit your constituents of the in the 113th district?
Well, I think when I first came into office, I was only 28 years old and thought I knew a lot, but there's a lot I didn't know. So what I did is I listened. I listened and learned, and over time you begin to understand that Illinois is certainly a vast state, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat.
which office is he talking about? Like, you should have been more specific with that, because he was asking about your current position. You've not been in your current position for 30 years.
You try and have the best in
Come on,
mind for
dude.
the people of Illinois, making sure that everyone has an opportunity. Being able to serve for that amount of time, I think, has given me the institutional knowledge to work with people across the aisle, to work with people in different regions of the state, whether it's downstate Illinois, central Illinois, Rockford, Rock Island, or Joliet, or the Chicagoland area. And I found that having that institutional knowledge, having that experience, it has served us well in
What
having
did you
someone
learn?
represent the Metro East who can cross regional boundaries,
Answer the question.
as well as cross the aisle and work with the other side of the aisle.
You've been involved in a lot of legislation and initiatives. Let's talk about a few. The Video Gaming Act reform, HB 2807, you introduced that to restrict video gaming advertising to on-site signage only. What prompted this, and how do you anticipate it will impact communities and businesses?
Wait, what? Wait. What?
with the other side of the aisle.
You've been involved in a lot of legislation and initiatives. Let's talk about a few. The Video Gaming Act reform, HB 2807. You introduced that to restrict video gaming advertising to on-site signage only.
Who the heck would introduce a bill for that? A bill telling people to put their signs on their what? That's the first thing we're going off of. Oh my god, no. Nope, Jamil, just watch the video. Just watch the video. Let's see where it goes. This is the first thing we're going off of. Signage.
What prompted
Signage,
this,
guys.
and how do you anticipate it will impact communities and businesses?
Well, first of all,
That's
I
what you
supported
introduce?
video gaming to help out local establishments, local small businesses. I
How?
supported the
Oh,
legalization
yes,
of that.
it does. That
However, I don't think anybody really anticipated these flags that are flying in front of them saying, gambling here or slots here. I think they're unsightly. I think that we, as a state, even though we have legalized video gaming, we don't need to have those type of
legalized video
advertisements that are unsightly, basically saying, we're a casino on every block. People find the establishments that have the video gaming if that's what they choose to do. And I just thought that the proliferation of those flags was too much. And so we unanimously passed it through the Illinois House. The governor signed it. So hopefully, over time, that those will go away.
You are a true
Out of all the things that we could pass through the Illinois General Assembly, we told people to put their friggin' signs away. All right, okay, just watch the video, Jamil. Don't get
truly a champion. I checked your record.
Don't
You are
get
truly a
Don't get
champion
heated.
for your voters and constituents in the state of in the 113th district
Why
in
do you say
Illinois.
that?
And speaking of that, your initiative to clarify and reinforce prevailing wage rules has it made it to the governor's desk? And what district in Illinois?
Hold on.
And
Stewart and Hoffman highlights upcoming Madison County historical event. State support for new exhibits. Okay, state grant.
speaking of that,
Honored with Small Business Champion of the Year. Okay, that's nice. Small business.
your initiative to
Further clarifies move over rules for drivers. What's a new? Requires drivers to yield the right of way to pedestrians and non-stationary vehicles dealing with an emergency scene. Okay, yes, they did sign that into law. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't remember that. They did sign that into law. It was already a law, but they had to further clarify it. Exactly. Expand ability of courthouses to display American flag. Fair pay standards for construction projects. Right? That's something.
clarify and reinforce
Yes.
prevailing
Competitive wages under a new law. Paid fairly and transparently. Cracking down on outdated vehicle licensing requirements. Easier for seniors with a new law. Eliminating stressful and unnecessary driving test requirements.
wage
Okay.
rules.
That
Has it made it to
new elementary school. That's good. That's great. Good for that. What about those school districts though? By that I mean, a lot of Madison kids go to school in Venice, and some of the Madison constituents that I've talked to express concern that they have to send their kids to another city for that. That's definitely something to tackle. But an elementary school is always a good thing. Release of new library grants, highlighting of more grants.
the governor's desk? And what protections will this
Okay, so
deliver
a
for
lot of
Illinois
highlighting.
workers? And how will it affect public infrastructure?
Very few
Well, that's
actual
a
bills,
great
but
question,
hey,
Terrell.
that's
So,
fine.
first of all, I got elected as a representative who represents working families, who has worked over the years very, very hard to make sure that when someone goes to work, that they get a fair wage, that they get benefits, that they make sure that they're able to to raise children, feed their family, and enjoy leisure time as well.
We definitely saw construction. We saw construction. He did introduce a bill giving construction workers more benefits and pay, hopefully. So yeah, okay.
So the prevailing
Keep
wage
going.
does just that. And what is the prevailing wage? A lot of people don't really understand what that is. What it is, it's actually the wage in any given area and for any given trade that is earned as a result of a collective bargaining agreement in that area. And what we have said as a law in Illinois is if you're doing um, a public project, a public infrastructure project, that you have to pay prevailing wage. That you have to pay what that prevailing wage is for that trade in that area. Unfortunately, there was a distinction sometimes between what the federal prevailing wage said and what the state prevailing wage indicated. And in Illinois, we said if it was any project that basically had any federal dollars, you would pay the federal prevailing wage. Mm-hmm. Well, unfortunately, what has happened is the federal government has not updated their prevailing wage. The current administration really doesn't care about paying prevailing wage. And so we were finding that when there were federal projects, or projects that had some federal money, that people were being paid less than what the true prevailing wage was in a given area. So what this bill said is it joins several other states, including Missouri. It says that you're going to earn on a public infrastructure project, you're going to be guaranteed to earn the higher of the state or the federal prevailing wage, whichever one is higher. And the governor has signed that bill. It is the law of the land. It was an initiative of organized labor, which I was proud to sponsor and carry through the Illinois House, and it was passed through the Illinois Senate by Senator Belt, who is my senator and also represents the Venice, Madison, Brooklyn, Grad City areas. And he carried it through the Senate, and the governor signed it at a signing ceremony at the state AFL-CIO building, where there were several members and representatives of organized labor from the Metro East who actually came up for that signing ceremony.
That's awesome. I'm looking for an opportunity to speak with Senator Belt as well. So, under the consumer protection and warranty scams, you advanced a measure targeting deceptive home warranty marketing. What types of scams or observations did you make with that? And how will this legislator empower consumers?
Exactly.
Well, actually, this was legislation that was brought about and was brought to my attention by individuals in my district who are getting notices and postcards saying that their home warranty was due, or that their home warranty payment was overdue when they didn't even have a home warranty to begin with. These type of scams were taking advantage of a lot of people, mostly elderly folks, who actually would get these postcards and think that they actually had to pay in order to keep a home warranty they never had. Mm-hmm. And so this outlawed that practice here in Illinois, and I think it's the type of consumer protection that we need so that these scams don't continue to hurt individuals who...
That's interesting. Wait, are warranty scams not already illegal? I'm pretty sure warranty scams are always illegal. Criminal offense under broader categories like consumer wire fraud. Yeah, I think that's always been true. I guess a clarification is okay, but whatever.
Many times don't have the money to make ends meet. What I found is that when constituents come up with these types of issues and or ideas, many times you can actually pass laws that get rid of those types of bad actors.
All scams are illegal. That's why they're scams.
For those people who are still receiving or maybe receiving some sort of marketing materials about these home warranties, scams, is there some place that you suggest they go to, or how do they, handle that?
The Attorney General has a hotline that I believe it's an 800 number that can be called for those type of scams, and you can report those, and they'll take action.
So let's talk a little bit about road safety and fairness. You collaborated with the Secretary of State
to pass the bill about making sure that people give the right of way to the emergency vehicles and first responders and any civilians involved with emergency. Yeah, we did read that. Was that the itinerary or was that his record? I'd like to hope that's not his whole record. That would really be disappointing.
Seeking to raise the age for mandatory road testing. What motivated this change, and how will it balance safety with the independence for our seniors?
Okay, yeah, we saw that too.
Well, unfortunately, what was happening in Illinois, and it was the only state left in the nation that did that for a senior over a certain age, regardless of whether you had a perfect driving record or not, you were required to take the driving test. That
Mm, 75 upon license renewal, 64, 65, not solely on age. Okay, so it is very rare. I did not know that I didn't know that it was that rare. I thought that was a common thing. Definitely not the only state though. That's obvious, but
this got rid of that requirement basically until you're, I believe it's 87 years old.
Jesus.
So if you're a good driver, you're not going to just mandate
87. The average lifespan's only 72. Before it was 75. What? There was no point in doing that.
Mandatorily have to take the driving test just because of your age. Study after study shows that seniors are most individuals who are seniors are actually the best and safest drivers, not only in Illinois but across the nation.
Okay, we all know that's a dang lie. I live in a retirement community, and these people suck at driving. No, oldest peoples are not. There are fewer teen drivers on the road that account for. No. Is he trying to say that teens? Alright. When was this study done? Copyright 2024? Okay. Age range. Injury rates. Okay, so injury rates lower. Okay. No. Injury rates do lower. Let's see. Am I saying they're bad drivers because they're dangerous? No. I've dealt with a lot of crappy drivers personally. These are the most at risk for accidents. Man, I do not like Bing. Okay, hold on. 2025. What are our 2025 stats? Do we have them? Okay, I see this, but I need some more. I need more than that. Who crashed more? 2025 edition. See, I need more than this. Teens obviously crash more. Lifestyle demographics, marital stat. Okay. Roughly before, yeah, okay, so this is roughly proportional to their population share. Age 65 plus, 20%, 19. Yeah, this makes sense. So they account for almost as many of the fatal crashes as they are. Seniors benefit from self-regulation, like avoiding night driving. That is true. A lot of seniors that I know avoid night driving because, Jesus Christ, I've almost crashed into so many people since I lived here. And by that I mean a lot of people have almost crashed into me. Because I live in a retirement community, and I used to walk on the road, I cannot tell you how many times I almost got hit. There's this one time I was walking back to my home. I looked down for a second at my phone. Mind you, I am almost in the grass. There are a solid 4 feet of the shoulder. I see some old white lady on her phone. Half of her car is on the shoulder trying to hit me. My foot is in the grass. I still have to jump out of the shoulder into the grass just to avoid her. And that's not saying that all elderly people are bad at driving, but my lord, man. No, they are not the safest. Some studies do say that they are safer, but I'd say self-regulation's a good thing.
People would say they don't believe that, but it's absolutely true. and AAA has reported that over and over. So this was, I believe, was just a matter of fundamental fairness. In addition, for the first time,
Not
it
over 75.
allowed family members who believe that their loved one may be impaired can report that to the Secretary of State, and they would have, through due process, have a determination as to whether they should keep their driving privileges. In the long run, I think that's a matter of safety, as well as getting rid of the mandatory testing is a matter of fundamental fairness to individuals who have had a spotless or a good driving record over
People
time.
over 75.
That's good. So you're also involved with local investments and community programs and things of this such. You've even highlighted $500,000 in state grants for police, fire, drains, and economic development. What were the criteria for allocating these funds, and what are the expected outcomes for one or two key projects?
Well, what we attempted to do is just divide the money for fire protection, fire districts, as well as police departments evenly for the amount of money that was available through the grants. So these grants were to provide for equipment for fire protection districts,
That's nice.
whether they're volunteer or otherwise.
That is good. Yes, Swansea has an amazing fire department. And lo and behold, this person lives in Swansea.
Well as police departments throughout the 113th district. I've also worked, very hard to come up with resources to provide other infrastructure improvements throughout the district.
Be specific.
We just celebrated what I think was monumental
Elementary school?
day for the New Venice Elementary School, which was a $26 million new school that's going to serve the children of Venice, which I think is just fantastic. Senator Belt and I, as well as the governor, worked very hard to make that a reality. I was real happy to be able to be part of it. Also, the initiative of providing a grocery store in Venice is going to be great, and we've also, in order to do that, there need to be some Bissell Street needed some upgrades, and that corridor we were able to get nearly $3 million to help do that. So
Okay.
I'm proud of those accomplishments, not only for Venice but throughout the entire district, whether it's Madison, Brooklyn, Belleville, Fairmont City, Swansea, or Shiloh, or O'Fallon. Those are these infrastructure improvements. Not only are needed for economic development, but for quality of life as well, and it puts individuals to work to build and complete these infrastructure projects.
Well, one of the reasons why I reached out to you in your office is because the 113th district does include Venice, Madison, and Lovejoy.
Yeah, it does. And what the heck have you been doing?
And you've been definitely boots on the ground, I guess I should say,
Yeah.
but you've been visible in those communities with the school board, the school being built, the grocery store, and things of this nature. So, that was a part of the reason I wanted to get you in front of the constituents and voters so that they can hear you specifically come out and say what the things that you've been a part of, so they'll know who their state representative is and who they should be voting for when that voting time comes. And thank you for that, because I'm I'm from Venice. I went to Venice Elementary School, so the whole rebuilding thing is not only a good topic to cover, but it has a sentimental place with me as well. And thank you for that. So let's talk about.
Can I just say something about that real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
So I received a call from the Venice superintendent at the time, and then the school board, that the elementary school was basically being condemned.
What?
And there was no place for the children to go to school.
So that's why you rebuilt that thing. That's
Cool.
nice.
I know
that's a
that they
good thing.
temporarily went to another facility while the new school was being built, but this had to happen, and I was lucky enough to work with Senator Belt, and I can't say enough about Senator Belt as a partner. We work together, and whatever we can do, whether he does it or I do it, we work together to make it a reality, whether it's in Venice, Madison, or Brooklyn. or the entire Metro East area. It doesn't really matter to me if you live in my district or it's a community in my district. I'm very, very, I believe strongly in the Metro East area, what its community, what it does for its people, and that's what I've kind of spent my life trying to represent.
And your work shows. How are the new per capita library grants being used locally, and are there initiative programs or upgrades underway?
Well, what happens is we provide funding to the Secretary of State for library grants, and then there's a formula whereby the individual libraries receive money, but there's also additional grants that can be applied for by the library systems. I worked with Secretary of State Alexis Giannoulias to make sure that our area received its fair share of library grants.
Am I a hater? I don't know, man. That elementary school is inherently a good thing, but I have a problem with the fact that it was spurred by urgent need. See, you guys know me. I hold politicians to a very high standard, and I'm disappointed every single time. Every single time. Constantly. Because none of them, especially Democrats, are proactive about anything. This could have very well been prevented, but I digress. I'll let it keep playing for now.
Grants. I think there's nothing as important than a public library. Whether it's a public library now, books aren't really the thing, but it's providing access to the internet and computers. Now we're placing so much emphasis on not only learning in schools but learning outside the schools, and you have to have access to the internet and to computers to be able to do that. Our public libraries now are the conduit for doing that if an individual or a student, for whatever reason, can't afford it.
Wow. You were definitely...
It would be great if Shiloh students could actually access public libraries without paying for cards, because villages are not automatically granted access to their city's libraries, which you should know because you live in a village of Swansea. You should probably try and fix that. Really common sense thing to fix if you care about public libraries. Allow these people who live in these villages to gain access to their city's libraries automatically, like the city residents do. But
involved.
I digress.
You had a Mother's Day donation drive that delivered 240 pounds of essentials to food pantries. What inspired this initiative, and how do such efforts strengthen community resilience?
Well, first of all, that of all the things you do, being able to do things like that as a state representative and provide those type of, whether it was diapers or other types of clothing for young people. The Mother's Day initiative was actually an idea of my office manager, Taylor Donahue Drew, who just had well, it's been a year ago now, had a baby and saw the high cost of diapers and being able to get clothes and other essentials for the baby. So this was an initiative that she came up with, and we were lucky enough to have individuals who really took to it and don't.
Okay, that's a good sign. Giving credit where credit's due. That's good. That's a good
donate
thing.
it to the cause, and I'm really proud that we were able to do it. We're going to do it again next year, and the year after, and the year after, and hopefully next year we'll break the record of 240 pounds.
Illinois will go as its state leadership goes. So thanks for being a good leader in the state of Illinois.
Oh, why did you say that? Oh gosh. Okay, no, don't. I wish you hadn't said that because it's not going well.
And with that mention of Taylor, I'll have to say, when I reached out to you in your office, she responded almost immediately. She asked me a few questions, told me that you would be excited about this interview, and here we are. So thank you for having a good team surrounding you, because they responded immediately. Thank you, Taylor, for.
I never got a response from them. But then again, I wasn't offering an interview.
Producing this opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's going to ask for a raise now. You know that.
For one thing,
Well, it sounds like she's earned it. Well,
Yeah,
you know,
can I make one quick point on that? So,
go ahead.
sure, we pass laws, and as a state representative or state senator or a governor, we'll enact laws. We'll provide for projects that'll create jobs and economic development. But the most important thing that we do is provide assistance to constituents who need it, who can't make their way through the bureaucracy of state or federal government. And when they call, we try and be responsive, and we're going to continue to do that.
You also have helped constituents and residents of Illinois claim uncollected money. Can you share how many people benefited and how this raised awareness of financial returns?
Well, the Treasurer's Office provides this service, and they come to the district and we'll host them for individuals who have unclaimed property. Unclaimed property is something that maybe your loved one who may have passed away had some stocks or bank accounts, and you didn't even know about it. So there's actually a registry on the Treasurer's website where you can go in and you can type in names and figure out if there is any unclaimed property. What happens is after a certain amount of time, the bank or whatever the financial institution turns it over to the state, and if it isn't claimed for a certain amount of time after that, it becomes state property. So there's literally hundreds of millions of dollars that is in the unclaimed property bank in the state treasurer's office. And Mike Frericks, who is the institution,
Let's say that. Let's read that again.
Who may have passed away, had some stocks or bank accounts, and you didn't even know about it. So there's actually a registry on the Treasurer's website where you can go in and you can type in names and figure out if there is any unclaimed property.
I don't know. I don't feel that one at all, because we could just as easily legislate for the state registry to automatically allocate those funds towards the dependents of that person or whoever was mentioned in their will if they had one, rather than forcing them to do it themselves. I wouldn't say that's helping them get unclaimed money. I'd say that, that is helping them get unclaimed money, but it shouldn't be claimed in the first place. That makes no sense. If you understand there's a problem and there's a lot of unclaimed money, then help people claim that money by simply giving it to the people who were directly related to that person.
What happens is after a certain amount of time, the bank or whatever the financial institution turns it over to the state, and if it isn't claimed for a certain amount of time after that, it becomes state property. So there's literally hundreds of millions of dollars that is in the unclaimed property bank in the state treasurer's office. And Mike Frericks, who is the state treasurer, has made it one of his top priorities to not only have that on his website and have it available through the website, but also to come into local communities. And we hosted it at the latest one at the Belleville City Hall, and we had dozens of people who came who had seen their name on the site, and they came to fill out the paperwork, and we helped our treasurer's office actually helped them fill out the paperwork to get their property back.
Wow. So let's talk from a broader legislative focus and community impact.
Please, my lord, I need some community impact. We got one school, we had a library initiative, we had a clothing initiative. Legislative wise, I need you to give me some community impact, because I'm very, very thirsty here. I need some actual state representative work here, please. Not just something incremental.
You serve on committees like the Workers' Compensation Analysis, the Judiciary, Civil, Labor and Commerce, and Public Utilities. What are your current priorities?
Anything at all.
Well, I believe that everybody who has gotten their recent electric bill sees that it has gone up considerably. A lot of that is due to what's called a capacity cost, in that what happens is they being the utility companies, they'll go out and they'll purchase power in order to make sure that on the hottest day in the summer that there's not a blackout. Because of the capacity decreasing and because of increased use, mostly by data centers and users like that, and bigger users, we've seen that capacity costs go higher. That's what's driven our electric bills so high this summer. They'll go down again in September when the capacity cost is not as much and our usage goes down because you're not using the amount of air conditioning that we're using currently. However, I think it's our obligation to try and do something to avoid that in the future. So I'm working on an energy bill with other members of the Public Utilities Committee, as well as other members of the Labor Committee, to try and pass something that's going to, number one, increase capacity, but number two, provide funding for energy efficiency measures so that
Nuclear. Energy efficiency, that equals nuclear. Because clean energy is not a problem for Illinois. We got a lot of clean energy here, but it's solar and wind, which is still not as cost effective as nuclear. We used to be one of the most nuclear oriented states in the Union. We had 5 plants, and now we don't. And during a nationwide energy crisis that is being caused by the re-implementation of fossil fuels everywhere, we could use the most effective, the cleanest, the easiest to implement form of energy, despite all the past propaganda that has ruined the public perception of it. That is just, common sense.
that we're decreasing usage. The only way that you can try and get these energy bills to not continue to rise is to either increase capacity and or reduce usage. And that's what this energy bill that hopefully we're going to pass in the near future is going to do.
Have you written it yet?
So let's talk the floodplain management and levee concerns.
Please.
Because you co-authored a letter cautioning, I guess, residents about the levee heighting during floods.
That's it?
What alternative strategies do you support for flood control and infrastructure planning?
Well, first of all, I was a chief sponsor of a bill that provided for funding to bring our levees up to past the 100-year floodplain. And now all of that work is nearly completed. However, that's just for the levee systems. There's so much of a problem of infrastructure problems, whether it's for water or sewer investments that we still have to do in the Metro East, particularly beginning in Cahokia Heights through East St. Louis into Brooklyn. And
a lot of flooding, a lot of damaged homes, a lot of unaddressed concerns, a million potholes, a lot of foundation that could be pressed. We were hitting the highways. It's causing everybody to be. I'm not gonna say be late for work. You just have to leave earlier if you go on a highway for work. But a lot of things that have not been addressed at all. You can still go to East St. Louis and pop your tires. Come on, guys.
Down Madison and Venice, because as you see building in places like Edwardsville, O'Fallon, Collinsville, there's more runoff that then comes down into those communities. Fairmont City is the same way.
They're lower elevation.
We were able, Senator Belton and I, with the governor's help, was able to get $1.8 million to the city of Venice for costs associated with water, sewer, and infrastructure improvements that needed to be done in order to help get the area ready for the grocery store, the healthcare center, and hopefully some housing units. But there's so much more that needs to be done in all of those communities that I mentioned. What I was told by engineers, and I had not realized this, is what has happened is there was a lot of manufacturing along the Mississippi River years and years ago, and and the infrastructure was built when that manufacturing existed. That manufacturing would use groundwater in order to cool the machines in the manufacturing process. When those manufacture and then all the infrastructure was built at that water level, which was lower than what it is now. When the manufacturing has cease to exist and they quit using that groundwater, the groundwater has
Crisis.
risen and has caused problems for a lot of that sewer and water infrastructure. So we have worked with the federal government in the Corps of Engineers to come up with plans across the Metro East area long term to try and address those issues.
Tell me
It
more.
doesn't help folks who are experiencing problems today, but
Long term, huh? It has been, yeah, you have had a long term, very long term. Feels like we could have done something by now.
hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years,
Hopefully
as
now.
the engineering is completed and as the construction is being completed, it's going to be addressed.
Okay. So let's talk about home from the heartland a little bit. Your earlier book suggested clean energy and natural resources as economic drivers. How are today's policies reflecting that vision?
Well, I think a lot of the things, the book that I wrote concerning, jobs, economic security, and clean energy using our own natural resources, whether it's corn to ethanol products or using the solar or wind or water resources that we have here in Illinois. The problem is the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow, so you have to have all types of alternatives, whether it's geothermal alternatives or other
Nuclear.
types of clean alternatives, such as clean
Nuclear.
natural gas. So I wrote that book 15 years ago, uh, hoping that it would foster thought as we move forward with global warming. Uh, Unfortunately, I don't think we're doing enough quick enough. As you see, uh,
Duh.
the problems with global warming, whether it's stronger hurricanes, tornadoes, other types of natural events.
Not doing enough. Yeah, you haven't been doing enough quick enough. No Democrat has been doing enough quick enough. The only one who actually cared about this was Joe Biden. He introduced over 100 bills specifically focused on that. And then he saw him, and then he threw them into a huge agreement. Well, no. And then he threw them into a huge bundle of other laws that he passed. See, Joe Biden was very climate oriented, and Illinois claims to be. They've made pretty good progress when it comes to clean energy in general. Not so much in actually reducing the effects of climate change. Our air quality is still crap because of the amount of construction that we do. We could very well focus on that, making sure that our children have clean air and clean water. We could focus on, actually putting in new systems, new programs to help those who are addicted to gambling and substance abuse, instead of getting rid of signs. Okay, let me stop. Just let's finish the
That I
video.
think are a direct result of global warming.
Finish
People
the
who
video.
put their head in the sand and say it doesn't exist, I just think they're wrong. I'm not saying the sky is falling, but I'm just saying that we're going to have to address this.
We're going to have
That's
to
why I've
address
worked very
this.
hard on several energy bills as well as what's called carbon capture and sequestration legislation, where you can actually, the technology now exists where you can actually capture the carbon emissions that come out of a fossil fuel plant, and you can take them and you can sequester them very deep within the earth, where it's not
What?
where it's not dangerous. In fact, it's
Whoa, whoa, no. Do not mess with the inside of the earth. That will have unprecedented consequences if you actually manage to gather too much air down there. The consequences for such an idea could be catastrophic, especially concerning natural disasters like earthquakes being exacerbated by them. You know what else can trap carbon from plants? Trees! They take that polluted air and they make it into nice fresh oxygen. Obviously, we can reduce the carbon emissions by regulating these fossil fuel plants. And we can add more trees. Not or we can add more trees, and we can add more trees. Then we get clean energy and we don't have to throw polluted air into the earth What the heck? Why would you? Who thought of that?
It's very, very safe.
No,
And
it's not.
Illinois has some of the best topography for that type of a sequestration, and so I hope
No.
that the bill that we passed
I hope
nearly a
that
year
never
ago is going
that
to
never
result in
happens.
not only cleaner air, but an industry that's going to create jobs and economic development in Illinois.
Or you can just regulate the plants.
So, those people who are interested in Hope from the Heartland, I mean, where do we find this book?
Just call my office. I'll probably send you a free copy.
Right on. Right. Thank you. Okay. All right. All right. I thought I'd give you an opportunity
I'll
to
get
plug you.
I'll get you one.
Right. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
I think
let's
you can get it on Amazon, actually. I was kidding.
push it. All right. Let's talk a little bit about early childhood and senior care, because several bills you've sponsored relate to employment, government, tech, and public employee benefits. How do they intersect with your priorities in education, workforce development, or senior services?
Well, I think what we're seeing out of Washington concerns me greatly. It's going to put a huge burden on the state's budget. I don't know if folks saw, but just last week the governor asked all of the agencies under his control to set aside an additional 4% reserve, because we don't know what's going to happen in Washington, what they're going to cut, what they're not going to send to the states, and how they're going to address their budget. When you make a decision to not provide adequate funding for Medicaid
Nobody saw
and
that.
health care, that's going to have a direct effect on access to health care throughout Illinois, whether it's a rural area or an area such as ours, because when you're not being reimbursed for health care, those hospitals, those doctors, those clinics have a huge burden that they, in order to continue to exist. And unfortunately, if that continues and it isn't changed federally, where there is adequate reimbursement for Medicaid, we're going to see, I believe, several healthcare institutions close, and access to healthcare will be greatly diminished. That concerns me. And whether you're a senior or a child or anywhere in between, I believe that you deserve to have affordable access to health care. It should be a fundamental right, and in the United States, we should make that one of our top priorities.
We could also solve that with a soft secession. A soft secession would solve that problem immediately. It might actually decrease the burden much more significantly than waiting for the federal government to give back the money. That will actually hurt some people.
I like
We
that.
could fill in all the money
You've been
we want
assistant state attorney.
with our own money.
You've been a probation director, and you've served 3 decades in the legislature. How have your early experiences shaped an approach to your policymaking today?
Well, when I first got out of law school, I started as an assistant state's attorney in the St. Clair County State's Attorney's Office, and then later became head of probation and court services. What I saw in those positions is, number one, if you're a dangerous criminal, you should be prosecuted. But if you make a mistake in life, we should provide the services that are necessary in order for you to turn your life around. If you continue to do bad things, well, then you should be prosecuted. But we have an obligation, I think, in our society to understand that certain times people make mistakes. If it's a nonviolent action, mistakes are made. You deserve to have the ability to turn your life around, and then it's up to you. But we have the obligation, I think, to provide those types of services so that you do get a second chance.
Okay.
But
what are the services? Tell us the services. Tell us what you're proposing. Tell us what you actually intend to do about this. Does it affect the private prison system? Will it actually take money from the prisons, put it into people's pockets? Since the prisons, like everything else in America, are owned by billionaire corporations. Say something specific. God dang it.
But if you're going to make the decision to not do that, even though you have those services, well, then you're going to have to face the consequences.
That's what?
Any future plans slated for Lovejoy or Brooklyn, Illinois,
The answer
or,
wasn't there was
because
no
they're
answer to the
in the
question.
process of trying to redevelop too. So are you in conversation with
Like,
with that community about doing some things as
no,
well?
Right,
no.
and
Do
I
not
think
say
it's
yes. Do not
the
say
types
yes.
of things that
Okay, he didn't say yes. If he said yes, I was just going to say you were a liar because I've been to Brooklyn more times in the last 2 years than you have because he hasn't been there at all.
we've done to help out Madison and Venice, we need to do for Brooklyn as well.
Duh.
I know that Brooklyn now has a new leadership with
You
the
know
new mayor,
that.
and I look forward to
That's
working with
good.
him
You look forward to meeting him,
to
most
make
likely.
sure that we do for Brooklyn what we've been able to do for Venice and Madison.
Is there anything that
You
you're
know what? Okay, I'll respect that one. No, I'll respect that one because he did not say yes, and he openly admitted that he has not taken action in Brooklyn, albeit in an indirect way. And that is one of the things that I absolutely despise in politicians: laziness. Brooklyn is 25 friggin' minutes away. You can drive your butt over there right now and get and ask for whoever. You've just chosen not to for the entirety of your time in the district, and he did not deny that. And I can give him points for that.
your voters or constituents could do to assist you moving forward so that there's more of a collaborative effort between you, the state legislator and the voters?
Well, like we talked about earlier, I pride myself in constituent service and providing constituent service, but I also attempt to listen. And I think that
Dude, I told you several things that were wrong with this state, and you literally laughed at me and dismissed me. So no, you do not. Why are you lying to these people? You don't even visit your constituents. You don't go to any of the major events. I do. Bro, like, be serious. Even the congressional candidates at least go to Pride. What are you even doing on the weekends? You can go to one of the cities and do something that doesn't have your name directly plastered on it. That is not that difficult. I understand that you're an old man. That's okay. There are plenty of other old people there. You'll have people to talk to. I don't know.
our society today, too many people are talking and not enough people are listening.
I
And
agree.
through listening, we're able to do things like pass a law that was an initiative of my constituent concerning home warranty scams. There's a host of over the years of different ideas that have
That
come
was already
from
illegal.
people
It's
who
not
live
a
in the
significant
communities
thing.
that I'm lucky enough to represent, that we've actually either changed the policy in a agency, or we've changed the law. In For a long time, a long time, individuals who are trying to get their teacher's license when they move from one state to another, or their nursing license, or getting their license to cut hair. It took so long in state government in order to get those licenses that you needed in order to make a living here in Illinois.
It still does take a long time to get those licenses that you need in order to make a living in Illinois. Occupational licensing laws in Illinois are among the strictest in the nation. And that's not a bad thing that people require more actual standards, actual expertise to get these positions. But because there's so much time, effort, and money going into these jobs that people need to survive, they either have to go to SWIC, which is already hard to get into, at least with more difficult jobs, because there's a high demand, or they have to go across the river to Missouri in order to get the training for these jobs that people would look for. And after they go to Missouri to get those jobs, they don't work here, they work there. Easing these occupational licensing laws would actually help a lot of people. Right now you were talking about it, but what have you actually done about it? I don't see any new programs for any of these things popping up around the place.
And we work with the agency, and I know
Which one?
now it's much easier, much quicker to get the license as they began to automate. Still not quick enough, but it's much,
Automate
much
what?
better than it was even a year ago. You shouldn't have to call your state representative's office to get the license that you have earned and duly applied for in order to get it moved up the stack. It should just be automatic, and we should allow for you to then work in the state and be productive.
Oh, this is after the training. I didn't know there was a licensing delay, but that does make sense. Because the same thing can be said for homeless people. Documentation or lack thereof makes it very difficult for homeless people to get more jobs, because they have to wait for these documents to come in, and a lot of them have to use very specific addresses like the Salvation Army, Core Community Center, or St. Vincent de Paul. It makes sense that there would be a licensing shortage in a place where documents are already very difficult, i.e. this entire area. So hopefully, if they actually did do something with that, improving the efficiency of the licensing agency, that would be great. Good job. I hope they did. Can't really check that. They didn't give any
Representative Hoffman, before we let you go, is there anything that you would like to say, thank your voters, or any advice that you can offer Illinois, the state of Illinois, those that are in the 113th district?
Well, first of all, thank you, Terrell, for having me and doing the show. I really appreciate it. I think that the more we can share information with people, the more informed they'll be, and the less likely they'll listen to some of the propaganda that comes out of so many people's mouths. It's an honor of a lifetime to be able to represent the people of the 113th district, and I don't take that honor that has been bestowed upon me lightly. And every day I get up.
If you didn't take it lightly, then you would actually visit Brooklyn for once in your term.
And I try to represent the people as best I can.
Don't lie.
Am I always right? No, I'm not. But I can guarantee you there aren't a lot of people who are going to work harder at trying to be representing the people of this district. So,
my friend, nope, shouldn't have said that either. You have a good number of bills, but they are all very incremental, and they're technical or procedural. They have a lot of these things have very little to do with actual entrenched problems, such as. Okay, I'll bring up the flag thing one more time because that's stupid. That is actually just stupid. Why are you telling people to put their flags away? That makes no sense. It doesn't affect anything. See, long-term districts problems like poverty, underfunded schools, stagnant infrastructure, all those things that you literally just named. Poverty, lack of access to jobs, occupational licensing, that's a very obvious problem that we could expand very easily with a sustained community impact. Underfunded schools, that's something Illinois has been dealing with for the longest. We could very well fix that with actual state initiative towards that. Continued, obviously. Stagnant infrastructure, of course. Continued initiative. Let's see. These all the things that were mentioned here, yes, they some of them were nice, but they don't actually tackle those long-standing issues. It's not even administrative reform. It's not even general community reform. It's just, here, take something. Meanwhile, there are no actual championings of bold economic development, new industries, or anti-poverty programs. The district is lagging because the leaders don't push for groundbreaking movement, innovation, or large-scale social change, which is required for any area to make progress, which is supposed to be the goal, but there's nothing. You've not spearheaded any major initiatives for funding these libraries or these schools. In fact, when I told you that our schools were underfunded, and I told you what was wrong with the new initiative that was aimed to fund it, you literally didn't listen to me at all. And since then, you haven't said anything about it. So you clearly don't give a crap. Even if you did, like you gave them a new elementary school, we're not even going to properly fund it. Hopefully, I can change that.
Thank you again for having me, and thank you to all the people who are watching, and if you're not watching, thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Well, just know that you have a platform here, so...
No, I keep giving him that elementary school thing. I have to genuinely redact those props. Because that was a reactive move in response to an actual emergency. As a state representative, if you were active in your community, you would have realized this was happening long ago. People wouldn't have to... people wouldn't have to hit up your line as the dang school is destroyed and all the kids are relocated. Their entire curriculum was bypassed by something that could have been focused on during the summer when they weren't in school to begin with. But they don't see that though. They're not going to see that.
When it's election time and you need to get in front of your constituents, MLV Speaks is here for you. Representative Jay Hoffman, thank you for your continued hard work in the 113th District and for all that you're doing for the state of Illinois. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us on MLV Speaks, and good luck in your future.
Thank you.
And to our MLV Speaks audience, we'd like to say thank you as well. We'd like to encourage you to continue to support and continue to view our episodes weekly on the City of Venice Facebook page. And if you would like to donate, click on the QR code at the bottom, and that will also help MLV Speaks continue to bring in inspiring information and from enlightened individuals like politicians, business owners, and so on and so forth. So thank you.
I like that. Hold on, that is actually a great outro.
Welcome to another episode of MLB
Crap,
Speaks.
I started over. Well, all right, on to the bull crap. Boom! This is going to be our first thing today. Illinois superintendents cash in while students fall behind. You're probably wondering, why do I have such a problem with everything? See, it's because the person that you saw there is another example of something that I just despise in politicians. A safe, reactive, low-impact community outreach. It makes no sense in my opinion. You know what? I'll explain more later. There is very little forward movement in this community or in these communities because legislative activity is focused on incremental and insignificant problems, and that is something that I will always have a problem with, especially when it comes to the minority communities, because these areas have under-resourced schools inherently. Like, the emergency funding was nice because it addressed an acute crisis, like the rebuilding of the school, but it didn't tackle the structural underfunding that caused it to be condemned in the first place. It looks like I'm doing sign language. Nor does it actually tackle curriculum disparities or achievement gaps that disproportionately impact these students of color. That's my problem. These are incremental gains that don't actually address any fundamental inequities. I mean, from residential segregation to legislative neglect, there are a lot of problems that are actually facing these communities. But you wouldn't know that if you just sit in your dang house all day, which makes no sense because you... Nope. No, we're going to keep going. Let's keep going. Illinois superintendents cash in while students fall behind. Education's dirty little secret. If you want to make big bucks, you get a cushy gig in the administration. Now, let's go ahead and show you what you mean. Let's see. Kevin Nolte, who retired after the 2024-25, he had a base salary of $450,000 for serving as CEO, highest paid superintendent of Illinois. And yet, only 19% of students were proficient in reading and a dismal 6.6 proficient in math. But what's happening? In another, District 2227, 2,300 students and only a 10th met state reading standards in 2024, except the superintendent, Johnny Thomas, $423,000. Meanwhile, Pedro Martinez pulled in $356, still an exorbitant amount, still an insane amount. Chicago Public Schools CEO. He managed more than 600 schools, though, and over 300,000 students. Yeah, when you put it into perspective like that, it's a lot. It's a lot more reasonable. Wow. How are these How are these high salaries justified? Let's see. In the business world, where the gulf between CEOs are paid and the median salaries of their employees has grown exponentially because increasing income inequality, Republican, tax increase for the rich, blah, blah, blah. One district raises pay and the others follow suit, and the same. Oof. See, the compensation that common sense would dictate is out of hand. Meanwhile, the families paying these bills are far less well off. The effective tax rate for homeowners in Dalton went up 108%. 108%. When this one man, 2,300 students, is raking in over $400K. This is the type of problem that you're going to see in Illinois. Because these sky-high salaries cost our taxpayers money. Let's keep going. Right? $55 billion budgets. Over $800 million in revenue changes. What do I have a problem with? Oh, you'll see. You'll see. Let's see. Record $55.2 billion budget. Over $394 million in tax increases. Well, do those disproportionately target the rich? I hope so. We're gonna see. $237 million in fund sweeps and $216 million in delaying funds. Let's see. They claimed that there were going to be budget cuts, but this one increased by $2 billion. And the whole budget has grown by $16 billion and over 50 tax hikes since 2019. And obviously they're going to blame Pritzker for this entirely, but no, it's not just Pritzker. Don't get me wrong. He may sign the budget, but guess who writes it? You want to know the answer? It's not this guy. It's this guy. This guy right here. Not just him, of course. It's all 118 House members, and of course the senators. But that's what I mean. Actually, no. It's definitely the House members. Let's see. Yep. This budget continues Illinois' practice of irresponsible and speculative budgeting, rather than focusing on policy solutions such as a spending cap, right-sizing employee healthcare costs, and constitutional pension reform. Lawmakers have opted for a status quo budget. Relying on taxes and fund sweeps encourages irresponsible budgeting. Let's talk more about irresponsible budgeting. Hoorah! Let's see how it is. This is the fall veto session review. Now, let's see what they might be vetoing. Ooh, a mass transit fiscal cliff bought in by transit agencies. 1.5 delivery tax on nearly every package delivered to homes, including essentials like groceries. As a solution for pandemic disruptions. So they use federal COVID-19 release dollars for general operating expenses instead of the one-time costs they were likely supposed to be used for. And now everybody in the entire state has to face a delivery tax. Doesn't help that Illinois has a blanket tax rate. Blanket income tax rate. That means everybody pays the same tax, which disproportionately puts more strain on the poor people than it does the rich. Especially when you bring in the property taxes. Hold on. Let's keep going. Speaker Welch and Governor Pritzker like to pretend that Illinois is leading the way on energy, yet we're falling further behind while utility bills skyrocket, manufacturing jobs at risk, and investment dollars leave our state. Illinois is blessed with one of the strongest nuclear fleets in the nation. Yes. Whoa. Unrealistic green energy deadlines? I wouldn't say all that. But we should be focusing on reliability and affordability, and nuclear does that. Nuclear is green, by the way. I don't know why he's trying to bash green energy here. Because nuclear is green energy. It is completely free of carbon emissions. It is extremely affordable. All you need is a water source. And the best part is, everybody's going to be worried about nuclear waste spills. Nuclear plants have only gotten more and more fortified with the years. That's why you don't see them very often. Well, that's why you don't really see them ever now. But the one time you did it, it was a perfect storm of screw-ups at every literal level. So, nah. Illinois is blessed with one of the strongest nuclear fleets in the nation, as I said before. And we also have the 6th highest population, which means a lot of money going into the system. So we can afford to pay for people's energy without hiking taxes up 50 freaking times since right before the pandemic. Okay? We can do that. But I digress. Biometric Information and Privacy Act, strict regulations and concerns about energy limitation are stroking fears among job creators because the tech and construction industries have been hurt. See, if we cost the state thousands of jobs and billions in investment, that's going to hurt our population even more. We've been losing a lot of people lately, and yes, people are coming to flock now, but that's mostly because of the Trump administration just stomping red states into the dirt. See, I highly doubt that they're going to take up action to address potential shortfalls in the state budget. They promised they would. They had a budget that economists agreed with, and yet somehow we're still ending up with all this nonsense. Literally, they blame the federal government, directing state agencies to identify spending cuts and reserve 4% of their appropriations. He said that. They're blaming the federal government, even though state funding has increased by 40%. Oh my lord. Don't get me wrong. I understand that COVID screwed up a lot of our manufacturing chain. In fact, it screwed up our entire manufacturing chain. That's why we saw nationwide inflation. The only reason we didn't see even more inflation was because of the Inflation Reduction Act. That's literally the only reason that we did not fall into a total recession under the Biden administration. It was a great move by them. They were very proactive. Actually, can you even call them proactive when they came into office in the middle of a pandemic? I mean, they were preventing the inevitable raise of the cost of living after the economy was restored. So yes, you can, actually. But this, yeah. This is the opposite. Because they really do just tax and spend crap, man. That's not my whole problem though. Hold on. Nope. See, my problem is, in general, that while our communities are struggling with worse health outcomes and higher stress and increased vulnerability to shocks like school building closures, our legislative leadership remains in the comfort zone. Small-scale symbolic initiatives that avoid taking on entrenched structural racism, injustice, or political underrepresentation that people are feeling in urban and rural areas alike. We could easily fill these gaps because we are a high-profile donor state. And people like to act like Illinois is poor, and I don't know why they freaking do that. Especially the politicians. And that's the problem that I have always had with Democrats. None of the stuff they do makes sense. See, with Republicans, they had a clear playbook, starting with Reagan. See, very clear, very simple, very easy. Attack education, increase distrust in the state and in the media, cause the media to become more partisan, make the life harder for the average taxpayer. You make life harder for the average taxpayer, they're going to blame the state. If they can separate themselves from the state, then they become those who get the attention of those who are feeling the pain that the federal government is causing them, but who aren't aware enough to know where it's coming from. By consolidating that power, they were able to continuously gain that power. They were able to continuously get these super rich tax cuts. They were able to continually increase voter suppression. not only in red states, but across the entire land, they were able to do sneaky things like exacerbating court battles to fit in their favor, stacking federal departments in their favor, and now they're just running amok. If the Trump administration was not run by a bunch of idiots, they would have taken over the country within the first 3 months, easily, because they had all the odds stacked in their favor. The Heritage Foundation did all the work for them. And that's not to say that I want the country to be taken over by a bunch of people who literally want to burn everything down. Of course not. What I'm saying is that they're productive. That is what I'm saying. That's the difference between Republicans and Democrats. Democrats, they are neutral on everything, in every single aspect. Republicans, they are malevolent, but they are fast, they are quick, they are decisive, and they will continue battering their opponent down, even if they don't know what the hell they're doing. Meanwhile, Democrats just maintain the status quo. That's my problem that I have with them. You know, the reason we're in a government shutdown right now is because Reagan's government went ahead and reinterpreted the Anti-Efficiency Act. So rather than maintaining the status quo and going on as normal when Congress doesn't pass a budget bill, they interpreted the Anti-Efficiency Act in a way where the government does not have jurisdiction to function if it is not properly funded by the Congress. That way, after he repealed the Fairness in Media Act in 1987, after he deregulated the media so that big corporations can take control of it, after he started devaluing education, it would start a partisan gridlock. See, increasing partisanship, increasing combativeness, between parties by shifting the course of America after a time when it saw significant progress in many aspects. And I heavily dedicate his passing not just to the Heritage Foundation's bolstering of him as the great negotiator, not just his pre-politics fame as a personality on media, but of course during the recession during Jimmy Carter's presidency, as a result of the OPEC pulling out of their deal with America, oil and petroleum exporting countries, largely in the Middle East, very anti-West. We relied a lot of our oil from them. And we relied on them so much. As soon as they broke apart from us because they hated our culture, we just fell into a huge recession. Bada bing, bada boom. Reagan comes in, destroys everything. Everything. And the Democrats, though they are able to restore the economy, and they did the same thing after Bush, and they did the same thing after Trump, and then they did it again. Well, no, that was it. The Democrats have had ample opportunity to just repeal those things. To just do the exact same thing but in reverse. But they didn't. We want to focus on unity. We want to focus on moderate policies. We want to go across the aisle. Well, my friend, you are like the person staring someone else in the face. They are saying, meet me in the middle. You walk forward. They take a step back. They say, meet me in the middle, and you just keep walking. That is the reason why we're here. Because Democrats want to be safe. They want to be incremental, and they don't want to do anything that would be perceived as taboo. It's lazy. It's pathetic. It's basically getting your teeth stomped in. And it's even more disappointing when you see it in a state like Illinois. Because Illinois is so gerrymandered beyond the point of recognition. Look at this. Hold on. No. Let's talk about Illinois. Let's talk about Illinois. Let's freaking do this. Illinois, 10th worst state for getting ahead. Illinois lags in both the nation and the Midwest on key indicators of social mobility. Do you know why? Please, I want you to tell me why. The answer is because our politicians are lazy. Lazy friggin' pricks. Okay? Excuse me. Low-income people in Illinois have a tougher time getting ahead compared to those in any other Midwestern state. 40th in the nation because of entrepreneurship and economic growth, institutions and the rule of law, education and skills development, and social capital. Let's do this. Let's do this. But below average on all four indicators, low social mobility prevents Illinoisans, especially economically disadvantaged and minority, like Venice, Madison, and Brooklyn, who he still hasn't frickin' gone to, from accessing opportunity. Doesn't make sense. See, social mobility still varies greatly within similar regions. Of course it does. I mean, look at this. Obviously, the red states. Like, come on. Yeah, the South is dying right now. But that's normal for them. Because all these guys right here are welfare states. They're supposed to be lagging behind. And yet, two of them are killing us. Killing us. It is disgusting, bro. Am I attempting to be the president of the America? You know what? Maybe someday. Yes. Illinois' barriers to social mobility are man-made. Why? Because they include a burdensome regulatory environment, high taxes, housing restrictions, and a low-quality judicial system. Now, let's talk about this. Illinois taxpayers each owe $38,000 for states' unpaid bills. We have an F in fiscal management. We've had a very bad fiscal management problem since the very beginning. Third highest debt for each of its taxpayers, $38,800. The third highest in the nation for the sixth largest populated state in the entire country. It could be worse. No, I'm glad that it said that, but it could be worse by now. Wait, what? No. Say that it could be worse, as in it might not be that bad. God dang it. Okay, whatever. 51.5 billion to cover 224.3 billion worth of bills. The outcome was huge budget shortfall, and each taxpayer has this to pay down. That's the reason why Illinois' fiscal policy was going to be tackled in the first place. Pritzker was the first one in 30 years to propose a budget that would actually tackle this problem. And yet, somehow they still circled back and ended up overpaying in the budget anyway. It doesn't make sense. We're supposed to be a democratic state, man. If we're supposed to focus on democracy, why don't we have automatic voter registration? Why is it that if I don't vote in an election, I get my registration taken away? They could have easily written a bill for that, passed it in a day, gone. All right, guys. Let's make sure that we automatically register everybody as soon as they turn 18. Whenever they get that state ID, we put them in the system. When they turn 18, boom. It's easy. You go, you vote, you leave, it's over. Is that so hard? No. It really isn't. Why don't we have properly funded schools? It's because of this. This is the reason that we have underfunded schools. Our unfunded pension benefits are ridiculous. We can easily fix our insane pension problem. I promise it's not that hard, man. It doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense. Excessively tardy for not publishing their annual fiscal reports within 250 days of the fiscal year. Why do they not publish them? Because they're not keeping track. 774 days? Are you serious? And that's only 16 states in the nation. For God's sakes, man. Illinois is likely to lose billions in additional federal funds the state has relied on since 2020 to help pay down costs. Well, duh, of course we're going to lose federal funding. No, we are. We are absolutely going to lose federal funding. We are already losing federal funding. We already lost federal funding. See, we already lost $1 billion food out of our children's pockets. Ah, man. How much does Illinois pay to federal government? Let's see. These guys would not like me. These guys would not like me. Because I would easily take all this money that we give to the federal government and keep it right where it is. Okay? Look at this. 19 states sent more than the federal government than they received. Of course, we are a donor state. That means we give more than we receive. Usually. But since our state has been so fiscally irresponsible, we are losing money for the first time in a long time, and it doesn't really make sense. It's not that we're losing money per se, but we're in a terrible place. We are in a terrible place. Look at this. We're losing money. It's terrible. And that's not really my problem. Why Illinois is listed as the most hated state in America. I enjoy this person's from Indiana, so we are not getting any representation in this chart. Let's go ahead and look at it. 21st state into the union, blah blah blah. 5th largest exporter of goods in 2024. That's beautiful. We have a large manufacturing export. That's the reason why manufacturing is so important here. And the 3rd largest agricultural exporting state, known for its corn and soybeans crops. See, we're not at our finest, and it really does just come back to leadership. Apparently, Illinois is terrible. It's one of the fastest shrinking states in the U.S. It has. Yes, that is true. We've been losing. We were losing people for nearly 10 years straight because of the fact that our taxes kept increasing and our upward mobility was decreasing. It is unfortunate. Super unfortunate. High taxes are just driving the trend, and the declining job market plus high cost of living, which can easily be fixed, is ruining the quality of life in this place. And yet these people are out here talking about frickin' signs. That doesn't make sense. What? What? Okay, I guess we're in sports now. No, I don't want to be in sports. Talk more about the actual problem. All right, we're on to another one. Let's go back. Business dynamism. The number of companies is shrinking. They're outsourcing. It's terrible. Boeing, Citadel, Guggenheim, and Tyson. Regulatory regimes in the country, just terrible, burdensome. Impossible. Wait a minute. You're lying to me. Hold on. Hyperlink. Let's see it. Illinois regulatory landscape. 4th most regulated state in the U.S. California, New York, New Jersey. Let's do this. Jurisdictions that allow regulations to constantly pile up and experience slower economic growth. All right. We do have a lot of regulations. What regulations exactly are causing us to lose jobs? That is the problem. The Illinois Administrative Code contains 282,040 restrictions and 19 million words. 19 million words. Holy crud. Well, that's just one thing. Tell me what's actually causing the problem. That doesn't matter. I don't care. The pace of policy change at the federal level is notoriously slow. But policymakers in Illinois can take tangible steps to counteract the negative impacts of both federal and state regulatory accumulation. That is absolutely true. That is 100% true. 120,000% true. The Illinoisans, they completely control the state. It is so heavily gerrymandered that they can pass anything at any point, and it will just go. But because it's so heavily gerrymandered, a bunch of these states go completely... A bunch of these people go completely unopposed. And then we get stuff like this. Illinois Democrats push $231 million transit bailout. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to push transit bailouts as a terrible thing, but this is idiotic. We already talked about this, but I'm going to circle back. Because it is literally just a cause. It's just caused by the fact that, again, they misused COVID funding for general operations. And the fiscal cliff was so deep that we had a new tax. They said it's a necessary investment in public infrastructure and environmental sustainability, but sirs, if we just used the money right in the first place, this wouldn't have happened. Also, where did the rest of it even go? It really is just a partisan maneuver, and it does, in fact, raise costs for working families, just like all of the fiscal mismanagement in Illinois does. We are facing a jobs crisis. We are facing a housing crisis. We are facing a cost of living crisis. And they're doing crap like this and talking about street signs. I think I'm going insane. Honestly. I can't even talk about the federal level. The federal level, we've just been mollywopped. There's nothing there. There is nothing there. They could have reinstated the Fairness of Media Act. They could have outlawed monopolies. They could have continued pushing for the fiscal regulation in elections. John McCain was all over that. The Democrats, they should have capitalized. Like, come on, guys. They claim that they want these things. They say it right to our faces, then they do the opposite. Or they just don't do anything at all. And then they wonder. Why people just don't like them. I look into your face, and I tell you what's wrong. You say, as if you're surprised. You're making all of my money. Taxpayer money funds your checks. And you make more than me. You're not going to be affected by this. So you don't care, but that is not what you signed up for. It doesn't make sense. See, transit and green energy. Beautiful thing. But this was not a necessary package. Okay? Not at all. This was a bailout. Call it like it is. Like when Trump gave $20 billion of our tax dollars to Argentina because their country went bankrupt after their stupid fascist leader destroyed it. Because we're just throwing money at other people now. Outsourcing all of our farms to frickin' China. Taking in billion-dollar jets in exchange for favors in the future. Meanwhile, we're building concentration camps over here. And people want to blame the people who are doing it. Of course you want to blame the people who are blatantly doing it. People who are blatantly kidnapping people off the streets. No, that makes sense. Of course you're going to blame the people who are in charge of it. Like, look at this. Tear gassing, violence. Didn't one person get shot? I'm pretty sure somebody got shot. I am 100% sure that somebody has been shot in Chicago by ICE. And they're not even the first person to die. But what are they doing about it? Nothing. And this is what I want. This is a bipartisan plan to fix Illinois' broken state elections. Roughly half of the legislative races are uncontested because politicians drew their stupid maps to lock in power. It is disgusting. But two political veterans think they found a way to fix it. Ray LaHood, Republican congressman, transportation secretary under Obama. Bill Daley, he a Democrat, son of a former mayor, commerce secretary under Clinton. They met with the editorial board to talk about gerrymandering and what they can do about it. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand we are in a gerrymandering war right now, and that is all fine and dandy. I don't know. Do I actually support fighting back against? Yes, we have to fight against the regime in order to maintain our democracy. But after that ends, hell no. In fact, I don't even care about gerrymandering in general. I just want our politicians to be productive. That's what I want. I want our politicians to be productive. Hold on. Docs. Place analysis, sources, diet. Until document, there it is. This is my bill. State Government Accountability Bill. This is what I want. The Illinois Legislative Accountability and Ethical Performance Act. I made this baby, and by God, I'm going to put it into law. Okay? The public office is a public trust, and elected representatives must be held to transparent, measurable standards of accountability, ethical conduct, community engagement, and constituent service. Because half of these stupid races are uncontested, and Illinois Democrats are lazy, people who don't want to do their goddamn jobs, they get a grading framework that will force them to work. They will be verified by their performance and ethical conduct, and the measurable benefit of their seat to the people of Illinois. Otherwise, they will lose their pay and maybe their job. Ineligibles for salary and subject to clawback for any compensation dispersed in error. Look at this. You get an A, full salary, 80 to 89, or a B, minus 15,000. A C, minus 40,000. A D, minus 65,000. An F, nothing. And if anybody gets a grade F, well, I don't know. No. Ineligible for salary and subject to clawback from compensation, as well as potential expulsion from C. I should include that with grade F, because if you're getting an F as a legislator, what is the point? What is the point? Sorry, Zero. I'm just ranting. See, I increased the base salary because it's not going to be easy for them to agree for me to have their salary. I said that I was going to half their salary because they're making $89,000K. $89,000K. That's $89 million. They're making $89,000 already of our taxpayer money, but they're not doing anything. And that's the problem. Exactly. Shall be forfeited for the evaluation period. None of them. They don't get paid if they don't do their jobs. Any verified instance of financial corruption, engagement in extremist ideology, participation in hateful or violent advocacy, or deliberate harm to constituents shall result in an immediate grade F salary forfeiture and expulsion proceedings pursuant to Article 4, Section 6 of the Illinois Constitution. Expulsion. Why did I put 1/2? That's redundant. There we go. Easy money. Community engagement. They must hold documented presence and engagement in all recognized communities within their district during the evaluation period. Not one that just happens to be the smallest. You do not get to neglect a village just because it has a population of 610 people. You get your butt over there, do your freaking job. Okay. Shall be set to 0 for that evaluation year. All grades, audits, and supporting documents shall be published no later than 30 days after issue. See, this would create an independent commission specifically for anonymous reporting, public commentary, and annual constituent feedback for every legislator, which will determine their overall grade. Conducting annual reviews, holding hearings, evidence of criminal misconduct, conduct or commission independent surveys. You got 9 members, 3 by the governor, 3 of the chief justice, 3 of the vote people. That last one's going to be very hard to pull off. Very hard to pull off, but I have to add a new section to actually give these people strict criteria. That sucks. Now I have to add criteria for the commission. I cannot believe that I forgot about that. Valuation no unreported gifts, outside income or financial relationships, no campaign finance violations, no annual disclosure of assets and liabilities, no conflicts of interest in votes or contracts. Actually, you want to know something random? We just bombed another Venezuelan boat. And I kind of find it funny that we just keep murdering people in other countries and nobody has done anything about it yet. Like, the world has become so focused on not creating a world war that we are just allowing entire societies to just die. Over 200,000 people are dead in Gaza because NATO does not want to do anything. And yet when Russian drones show up in Poland, everybody's planes, boom, just instantly there. Except ours, of course, because, duh. Yeah, that's unfortunate. No serving as a lobbyist while in office, no extremist associations or harm, no expression or participation in extremist ideology or endorsement of extremist groups, no incitement of law of advocacy or harm, no support for systemic discrimination or any verified instance of corruption, participation in or endorsement of extremist ideology or policy incitement to harm shall result in immediate grade F and expulsion proceedings. See, like the dropping of chemicals, airborne chemicals, onto the people of St. Louis to test their effects on humans that the Trump administration proposed because, St. Louis is majority minority, that would have automatically prompted expulsion proceedings under this bill that I created, and it would also put them on trial for criminal misconduct and hopefully prosecution. But we don't care about accountability in America, and I want to change that. Starting right here in Illinois. And as much as I hate the fact that we are so heavily gerrymandered, if you force people to do their jobs or lose all the money they make, maybe they might actually do something. And if that doesn't work, I'll just try again and make more bills. And that way, nobody will ever be lazy again. Oh yeah, annual district-wide public engagement survey, constituent impacts. It's amazing. Let's see, community engagements, ethical footprints, and constituent impacts. Policy outcomes, 10. Yeah, those are the 3 categories that they're going to be graded on: 30, 30, and 20. I think that's pretty good. I'm glad that I did that. Ethical footprint. That means they're anti-corruption, community engagement. They go to all of their areas. The entire community engagement domain. If a legislator, yep, this is my favorite line right here. If a legislator fails to hold engagement in every recognized community, the whole engagement domain shall be awarded 0 points for the entire year. That means, if this was law right now, that Jay Hoffman would automatically be docked 30 frickin' points because he doesn't go to every place in his district. And after that, you'd probably take out even more because they're literally having no friggin' policy impact by taking out signs off the dang street. What the heck was the point of this? Bro. Wait, what? This is what I want. Okay, now let's go back to this. Notoriously slow and difficult to accomplish. No, it's not. No, it is not. It is not difficult to accomplish. It would be difficult to accomplish if people were actually working on it and there posed problems. The difference between an actual difficult job, between working hard and simply not doing jack, is action. Yes, I blame Jay Hoffman for a lot of problems, but that's because he is a representation of the actual issue, which is indolence. Straight, unadulterated indolence. Sitting, waiting, doing nothing that doesn't involve him or his little friends. It doesn't make sense. You have a whole area that you can serve here. Go out in a community. Freaking volunteer somewhere. Go to a soup kitchen. Make a policy. See, he made a nice little food drive, a little clothing drive at the behest of his staff member, but he did it once. You could have made a policy, or you could have made a partnership between other organizations who could continue that chain. That is a good opportunity you could have taken right there to start a new team that could promote some positive change. Like the Salvation Army Corps Community Center, for example, they take food from a lot of different areas. And then they go out and redistribute that food in areas like East St. Louis and Belleville via drivers. But that has nothing to do with legislature. You know why? Because they did it themselves by opening their dang mouth. And politicians want to act like they can't do that. Why can't you get off your dang butt and go actually make some good change? Go talk to some people. It doesn't have to just be policy. It really doesn't. It doesn't have to just be policy. Like you can make some actual decent change. This man has gone and helped pass over 850 bills, and yet we see no substantial drive in this community at all. We see no actual significant impact. Like he touted that dang school like it was the king Dakar of policy. My man, it was an emergency, and you found out after the fact. Meanwhile, you could have been doing this the whole time if you just got off your butt and did something. Oh my God, man. It's not that freaking hard to be a good politician. I don't care if you go uncontested. He's gone uncontested for every single race that he's been in since he got down here. Why? Because he lost his original district. And that is a terrible thing. I'm gonna make sure that doesn't happen anymore. No. You're not gonna serve 12 years in another district and then come over here and screw up our lives when we could have an actual competent politician in that place. No, we're not gonna do that. In fact, what I want to do is make Illinois a hub where you can have several copious organizations that are training new leaders. We need to not only fund our education, but we need to bolster it 10 times. Make sure our children are actually aware of the situations that are taking place in America and in their state. Otherwise, we're going to end up with people like this. And not only are we going to end up with people who don't want to do jack, we're going to continue to maintain a society that is complacent and allows them to do nothing. And I hate that. I've always hated that ever since I was a little kid. Nobody holds politicians to any standard. It's disgusting. I believe that a politician should be an active civil servant. They should be a machine. They should drive to be a machine. They should always be outside, trying to do something meaningful. They should not be holding any other jobs. They should not be holding any other dubious commitments. I can give him that. As far as I can tell, he's generally clean, although he has received donations from these green energy companies. Which, yeah, you can say that might present a conflict of interest. Maybe those clean energy companies are the things that are preventing us from actively tackling nuclear energy again like we used to. Maybe they're paying off the guy, so he backs off the nuclear, and the Democrats start supporting the clean energy initiatives, even though nuclear is clean energy. I don't know why they try and differentiate those things. Very much the same. Very much the same. But I don't know. All I know is that people suffer because people are lazy. You have one side that is completely hell-bent on tearing down the regulatory system and the democratic stability of the entire nation, consolidating all the resources in the entire dang country. And then you have one that just sits there and then gawk and get surprised when you call them out on it. This is the first time that Democrats have fought back since all this nonsense started. And honestly, who knows if it's actually going to do anything? I hope that they persist. It's at the expense of a lot of people. But the fact is, yeah, if Medicaid continues to get cut, like the Republicans keep trying to do, people are going to die or go bankrupt and then die. So, not only that, but it's another $1 trillion lost and given to the rich. It's more billions of dollars thrown into to concentration camps, which are also owned by billionaires. I don't know, man. It's either they persist and keep this government shutdown going, and let Trump do whatever the hell he wants to do during that time to continue ruining his legacy, or they just let it go and America falls into authoritarianism and I have to fix it when I become an adult, which is going to inevitably be my job and the job of everybody in my generation, because we were not even given a fighting chance, and we are going to take that chance back so that our children can have a future. That is our only option. Because the reason that people like this stay in office, same reason as... Wait, what? No. Oh, okay. That was stupid. That was so stupid. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That should not have been a thing. Wow. You guys are just goofballs. Alright then. Alright then. 250 million swept on the road fund to cover deficits. Relied on mass fund sweeps and accounting tricks to cover the chronic budget shortfall. It's ridiculous, man. We almost had it, man. We almost had it. A delay in the fund transfer of 171 million from motor fuels state taxes to the road fund. Wait a minute. No. We need that. Hold up. What? A one-time delay to avoid further Then just don't hike up the taxes. What do you mean? To avoid tax, just don't hike up the taxes. We don't need to. The taxes are already too high. Look at this. Yeah, COVID sucked, but it didn't suck this much. Look at this nonsense. It's $15 billion. Well, 16.7. But still, my goodness. Well, I'm Jamil McKinney, and I'm going to be the one to de-seat Jay Hoffman, because we need some accountability in this country. We need people who are actually going to get on their high horse and work for once in their useless lives. Because maintaining incremental, insignificant, and reactive change in the 6th largest state in the union with the most regressive tax policy of any blue state in the union, with our underfunded schools, our lackluster transportation system, and our non-automatic voter registration, is only going to continue making things worse. And don't even get me started on the finances. It's all messed up. Quality of living is low because taxes are high and job mobility is stagnant. So we need to start working now. And Hoffman is not going to help with that. Sorry. Not sorry. We need somebody who actually understands the political landscape, be it by education rather than experience. I don't even understand how you can call it experience. It's not like he hasn't lost before. Clearly experience wasn't enough. Can you really call it experience if you haven't made anything like generational? if you don't have any real claim to fame, like if you're in a field for 20 years and you haven't and you're not like a household name, what exactly have you been doing? No, I'm gonna be way bigger than that. I have to, because everybody in my age range has been buffeted, has been devastated by massive destruction and consolidated indolence. Just all the Democrats taking all the indolence, all the inaction to themselves. And it doesn't make sense when you can just get people who are actually focused on making progress, and making positive, meaningful, and impactful change, and put them in those places instead. Doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. This world that we're living in does not make sense. But yeah, that's where we are. I mean, Illinois Republicans, I agree with them on a lot of things, actually. See, federal Republicans, there are no Republicans left. You've got MAGA at the federal level. That's it. Completely devoid of logic. I can throw that right out the window. I don't even need to mention that. Illinois Republicans, hey, you tell them something, at the very least they'll listen. It's more than I can say for the Dems. So that's all I gotta say about that. Wow. I legitimately spent all this time just talking. That's crazy. Well, yeah. I guess that's that. I'm gonna go ahead and start another live stream where I'm actually reacting to stuff, like you probably expected me to. But this right here, this is going to be my little introduction video, in a sense, because I'm gonna start getting serious about these things. I kind of have to, because every single day there's just a new horrible thing going on in the world, and it's gonna continue to be like that, because duh. Look at the time we're living in. Ay. Yeah. It's a hell of a time to be alive, I'll say that much. Heritage Foundation's taken over everything, and we have nobody, and I mean nobody, to save us, except for ourselves. Have you considered making a gaming live stream? Yes, I have. A steal an object. God dang it. You guys are loved, you're appreciated, you're gonna do amazing things. I will see you later. Let's make a brighter future. Eat your vegetables, hug your mother, be amazing. Continue pushing forward towards all that you want to be. Because you deserve the world. Don't let anything stop you from getting it. Okay? Especially not crappy politics. Okay, I'll stop. Let me stop. Nah, Illinois in general just really, really irks me. We have so much potential as a state, and it's just thrown out the window. Constantly. It makes no sense. None of it makes sense. It won't even make sense after I get this bill passed. Because I'm gonna get this dang bill passed. No more lazy people. Ever. Illinois is gonna be the centerpiece of productive leadership. Or we're just gonna overhaul the entire state government and start from scratch. Hopefully with young, strong people who can actually carry the burden that they promised the American people that they were going to. Because that's what you're supposed to do when you take a job. You're supposed to do what you said you were going to. Anyway, Delta's out. Peace.